Hello, Steph. My name is Ayuk Puspita. You can call me Ayu. First, I want to say thank you so much. You helping me make this interview for my final examination. And first, can you introduce your name or your origin and current domicile and occupation?
My name is Stephanie. I live in Bristol. I was born here. And my job is a full-time carer for my mum. And I recently graduated as an animal care student.
Uh, it's good. You're
I'm trying to stay focused. I'm
okay.
trying.
Uh, okay, I want to say some question to you about British society and literature question. The first question
Sorry, you broke
is,
up then.
what do you know about national culture in British?
Well, in Britain, as I have said to your friend, as I have said to uh uni, um, it's a mishmash over here. It's honestly a mishmash. It's changed so much. If you were to ask anyone, they would say it's changed so much over the years. Um, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the our society and our culture was governed by mostly Christian and Catholic views, which obviously shaped the laws of our country, not just the laws legally, but sort of, the unwritten laws of society, in culture. Um, and it helped in the way that we raised up raised our children, in the way that families stay together. Um, but I mean, nowadays a lot of those rules have been changed. A lot of those rules have been changed, and therefore it's given rise to a sort of different culture. As time has gone on, with different facets just changing and evolving in constant ways. Um, there are a few staples, however, I realized that I didn't tell your friend. There are a few staples that just don't change. The food, which is like fish and chips, um, curries, Chinese food, kebabs, pizzas. And a pizza back then is the same as a pizza today. And a curry back then is the same as a curry today. There ain't a difference. Like, Um, and tea. The British, we love our tea. You can't be considered a British person if you don't drink your tea. I currently have a cup of tea. Tea is my primary drink. I actually can't stand coffee. I only drink coffee. I drink it in Coke. Apparently, um, tea, just tea. We love tea. But Britain itself is just an amalgamation of a lot of different cultures. You go down the road where we have carnival, we have St. Paul's Carnival, which is like a Jamaican carnival that happens in June. And it's music and color and culture just everywhere. And then obviously you also have things like Hindu festivals as well. And a lot like when you see like for instance we have oh for fuck's sake, the names disappeared from my head. So Diwali, it's Diwali, yeah, Diwali and Eid,
Diwali.
and we see a lot of you know celebration Diwali, and we see a lot of decorations up for that, and a lot of people do celebrate, and it's a lot of people walk
Uh,
around and
it's
celebrate
like
it, and we'll all be
Indian. It's like Indian culture, Diwali.
yeah,
I know it in the
Yeah,
Bollywood
I'm
movie.
just saying. I was just giving an example. Yeah, I was just giving an example because I couldn't think off the top of my head. I was like, I know this, but I don't, so I'm going to go for the only one that's sticking in right now. But I don't know why. It just for some reason, my brain's just gone blank. My brain has just gone blank completely. There's one with a really short, like really short name as well that I can't think of as well. My brain's gone back. It'll come to me. It'll come to me tonight when I'm trying to sleep. I'll be laying down, my head will be on my pillow, and it'll be like, "That's the one." Um, but no, it's just such a mismatch. Like when we have a lot of different things that make up culture in Britain nowadays. It's crazy, honestly. It's like a Pandora's box, but you open it up, and instead of being all of these like demons, it's just all of these like things. Like you'll have like you open it up, and like you'll have um you'll have you'll have like one of those silly Jewish candle wicks hit you in the face, and then and then you look back inside and you get streamers in your face, and you look back and then you get um you look back and you just and you look back and you get one of those balloon things in your face, like it's a mismatch of culture. It's just so there's just so much. There's just so much. It's weird. Like you come here and it's so much. You can have you know a mishmash of people just everywhere, and it's interesting to say the least, and it causes it causes problems sometimes, but what things don't? Cars cause problems, planes cause problems, everything causes a problem at some point. Mobile phones cause problems. So this whole Britain at the moment is just this mishmash of a lot of different things, like a lot of
Yeah.
people from a lot of places, a lot of religions, a lot of beliefs, that all coincide together. And sometimes it's brilliant, but it's also, as I said to your friend, in one of the things of too much being, there is a limit. But it's kind of cool to see when it all gets along and it all um works together well, if you know what I mean. Yeah, when all the cogs turn in sync and it all works together and it all comes together nicely, I believe that is when when all these diverse cultures coming together really work, is when they actually work together and all of this crap doesn't get in the way. But yeah, no,
You
fish
give
and
me
chips.
a new you give me a new information about national culture in
Sorry, you're
British.
breaking up really badly there.
Okay,
Sorry, you're breaking
second.
up really badly. You're breaking up really badly, and I'm not too sure why. Hang on. Is there anything to do with my computer? Hang on.
I think my connection
I'm
is
just gonna.
unstable. My connection is unstable.
I can understand you. It's just your connection is unstable. Oh, okay. All right,
I'm
that's why.
sorry.
I thought it was like something that was happening my end, but it's because I don't worry. It's I've got about 10 things open on my computer, and I thought one of them was acting up. So it probably could have been me as well. But I've shut down two of them now. So and I'm actually it's running a little bit smoother on my end as well. So maybe it was my fault partially as well. I'll shut down something else actually. But I mean, just to give you a clue of the kind of humor that British people find funny. If when you and your friend have finished this, if you look on her Twitter, I've just sent her I sent her a meme. Um, and let me know if you two laugh, but if you can, yeah, it's come to England and that's the kind of humor you can expect.
Okay,
Like that.
we move. we move in the second
But yeah, we can
question.
move on to the next one.
What do you know about individual culture in British society?
Well, individual culture in Britain and in
Yeah,
society, it is a tough one because I believe that at the moment, as I said to your friend, it is mixing. Um, you know, I believe that it's the rise of individual culture has is in ascent, but it's under the guise of national culture. It's before we were people that thought, well, we don't allow this because of what can happen. We don't do this because it puts so many people at risk. But now it's more, I matter more than everyone else. You know, um now it's what I think matters more than everyone else, and it's given sort of rise to this individualistic, I believe, culture where, because people aren't, they believe that others aren't listening to them or accepting them, they're looking for other people that are. So they go around and they find people that are accepting of them, and sometimes those people aren't so nice, and sometimes they're people just like them, just lost, but they end up in this sort of hive of sort of fake acceptance where they get told that they are always right, that they are always valid, that they are always, that the world is there, put there to work for them, which is obviously not the case. um and it's sort of given a rise to this sort of individualistic mindset of, where a man can use a woman's bathroom because he identifies as a woman, and I don't think that's right. um just because it puts so many others at risk. It doesn't matter whether I'm bi, so I am LGB of the LGBT, but there is reaching a point where you have to sit back and look and say, right, well, this sense of I'm right, my feelings matter more than everyone else's, and the possibilities of what can happen in society with that acceptance, what can you really do with that? Like, you have to put your foot down and say no. But the problem with that is that now, with the people that are saying no, they're reaching a sort of impasse of the people that were some of the biggest women's rights advocates are now being forced into this position of being labeled as, you know, unacceptable in society, and this whole like turf thing. I mean, it is ridiculous. It is genuinely ridiculous. I mean, if you were on the toilet and your brother decided to try and walk in the bathroom at the same time as you, you'd kick him in the crotch and tell him to shut off. I mean, I assume, I don't know what, I don't know how it is in your family or what it's like, but I assume that if he walked in while you were on the toilet or doing something in the bathroom, it would be, what are you doing in here? Um, and I just think that it's so wrong that as a woman, I can't turn around and say my women's space because they're perfectly valid and they can be applied to every person in that situation. If you have someone, I mean, it's happened several times recently, news stories of, men dressing up as women, going into bathrooms and taking pictures. Now, 20 years ago, if a man did that, he'd be on the front page newspaper. It would be in the newspapers, his face would be plastered all over the news, and you can certainly know that he would be getting what came to him. Now, now it's just sort of like, well, eh. And it disappoints me to sort of see that rise of, oh well, I'm not going to say anything, because when I want to do something that people don't consider right, I want to be able to say, oh well, we supported this, why can't you support this? And it's disappointing to see, to say the least, I think. But that's my take on sort of individual in the individual culture in Britain. We become a nation of people that are just trying to please.
Okay, the third question is, do you find immigrants in UK, and what do you know about their culture?
Well, obviously, from what I knew when I what I know is when I what I grew up in the areas that I grew up in. And like I grew up in a lot of areas that had a lot of immigration from different countries. And like some of them were like the friendliest people that you'll ever meet. And then like some of them were just people that you wouldn't want to go near to. You wouldn't want to piss on them if they were on fire. Um, it like an old Jamaican woman on our and even because you would see the family like hanging out together and the children were growing up with people to look up to and to learn from. And that was an amazing thing to see because a lot of people didn't have that when I was growing up. Like my best friend didn't have her dad, um, you know, and her mum got with another guy, but it didn't work out between them either. And so her brother didn't have his dad. And that was the case for a lot of kids that were in our area. And we found that when we would see a lot of like well I found that a lot of the differences between us and like a lot of the immigrants as well were that their families seemed to be quite whole and together. And that was actually something that was really nice to see because you weren't seeing these like broken families. You were seeing like these lovely families who, had respect. But then you did also have the problem ones. And the problem ones, unfortunately, the nice ones are really, really fucking nice. And the problem ones are absolute. You just want to, because the things that they do are so much worse than what people do anyway. And it's just a case of you've got all of these mishmash of cultures, and obviously some of them don't agree with each other. And so I did see some pretty nasty fights growing up between, Jamaicans and Somalians because the Somalians used to refer to the Jamaicans as the lost tribe, um, which is ridiculous because there's absolutely no genetic evidence to support any relation between people in Somalia and Jamaicans. So nonetheless, you can imagine how pissed off that the Jamaicans used to get that the Somalians used to call them the lost tribe. And I used to live on a road that was dubbed the murder road because so many people got stabbed on it. And a lot of the people that got stabbed and did the stabbing were black, but it was always Somali and Jamaican people fighting each other. However, the Jamaicans got on with everyone, the Somalians got on with everyone, they just didn't get on with each other. And so obviously if you've only got one or two of them in an area, that's not a problem. But if you've got 100, you can imagine the kind of fights that leads to, especially if they don't want to get on with each other. And so you end up in some cases just having to go, for the love of God. So immigration, I believe, is much needed because also it helps keep a country moving. You get an influx of people, so you get an influx of the workforce. But not only that, you get an influx of like fresh blood. So, if all the people in Malaysia and all the people in Russia and all the people in France just stayed where they were, eventually, a couple of 100 years down the line, everyone would be related to one another. As I said to you, as I said to uni, but it's so immigration and free movement obviously is needed to function and to survive and to evolve and keep the world ticking over. But I also do believe that there is there must be like a flow, there must be a balance, there must be a limit to that flow, because otherwise you end up with problems like the ones I've just described, where you have people that just don't agree with each other, that will never get on, that end up causing problems everywhere they go. And so, you know, too much a good thing. You know, sugar is nice, but as you can see, too much sugar, no teeth. So as a perfect example of too much, you know, things in moderation. Perfect example, things in moderation. Too much sugar, you will lose your teeth. Brush your teeth, no sugar. But you know, good things in moderation. You know, sugar is nice and we like sugar, but you can't eat it all the time. You know, it's not good for you, it's not healthy, and it's not wise. You need a balanced diet. And so much like that, much like a country, much like a people, much like a society, much like a town, a village, a city needs to run, you need a balance of people. You can't have too many people against one another, because then you'll just get constant fighting. And you also can't have too many problem people, because then obviously you'll also have problems. So it's trying to keep all people happy, I think. And I think that's what screws up immigration, really, because trying to keep everyone happy, you end up overstretching yourself in some ways. Like the government, I mean, ends up stretching themselves in some ways, and they just end up not managing it, and then they end up with too much of one people, too many of these people, and then these two fight because they don't like each other, and then you end up with a third group that goes like, come on, we're sick and tired of this now, and they get in between, and then you just end up with this, and it's chaos everywhere. So yeah, good things in moderation, I think.
Okay, and the next question is, are you interested in English literature or classic English literature?
I am. Well, I love to read, so I do love English literature, and I do love some classic English literature. Um, but obviously, growing up, I read everything from like the Magic Key books, which was about a key, and you would get the key and you could insert it into any lock. And when it would open the door for whatever lock it was in, you could be transported to any magical faraway world. And I used to love those books. And I read Terry Pratchett and, you know, a lot of the Charlie books. And then I shifted to Harry Potter when that came out. But as far as classic goes, like really old stuff, like stuff from history, um, you know, despite the fact that I can't stand Shakespeare, go figure. Yeah, Shakespeare's Midsummer's Night's Dream. I love that, and I don't know why. Puck is my favorite character in that. I don't know why. Puck is such my favorite character. He's so cute in that. Um, but you know, hate Shakespeare, but love Midsummer's Night's Dream. So go figure. Uh, but obviously at the moment I am just about to pick up BTS's new biography. So you know, at the moment, you know, it's just sort of fan fiction and like BTS stuff, and that's
Yes.
it's well, BTS fan fiction. If it's not BTS, I'm not interested. uh,
Okay, and we move in the next question. Do you know what are the most popular art in UK?
um, I think you skipped one there, lovely. We'll answer that, but honestly, I've got no clue, because
Sure,
obviously I
sure.
haven't been in with the mainstream stuff. I haven't
We
been
can
mainstream
sure.
stuff, just hasn't been in a while. Like as I said, if it ain't BTS, I ain't interested. And to be honest, like it's so weird,
Uh,
because sometimes I walk into a store and there will be a BTS song playing, and then other times I'm walking in and I'm like, oh, do you know BTS? And they're like, who? You know, so
Circus step.
it's so up and down. I wouldn't. If you walk into a store and you ask, oh, does people know Taylor Swift? People go, oh yeah, we know her. But then you go, oh, do you know BTS? And you might get one girl at the back go, like, you know, but and then you'll just get a lot of clueless looks. And I just don't understand why, because then for some reason, I mean, you see Wembley and you see the um tour that they did there, and you see all the army, and you're like, where are these army now? Where are they? But no, mainstream. I'm not into mainstream really stuff at all. If it's not BTS, I'm not interested.
Okay, it's okay. Okay, we can move in the next question.
Um,
This is about
but I think
history.
you oh yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, oh, I know about the Oh, sorry, I thought you finished there because it looked like your mouth was closed as it froze and there was no sound. So sorry, do you want to continue?
yeah, yeah, sure. Uh, do you know about the history of monarchy?
I mean, the basics, eras, rulers, a few like names, events, that sort of thing, like the important ones. Obviously couldn't rattle them off all in chronological order like some sort of computer right now, but I mean, there are, you get asked a question, you could answer. Well, most of the time, if I can remember. Um, but no, I know basics.
Okay. And then what do you think is the most influential king and queen? For me, I like Princess Diana. I know her from media social and articles. She's very kind.
Oh, yeah, Princess. Oh, the thing is like, I mean, yeah, Princess Diana was pretty influential, but she was never queen, and
Oh yeah,
unfortunately for
yeah,
her, she
she's
was never in
princess.
contention to be queen.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Okay.
but no, Princess Diana, she was beloved. She was beloved by the people. Um, I mean, neither of them were innocent, to be fair, with her and Charles and everything that happened between them. I mean, I can't stand Camilla. As far as I'm concerned, if that bitch ever becomes queen, I'll commit treason. Um, but I mean, I can't stand Camilla, but I mean, oh, piss off, is my internet connection unstable? Um, but my my personal preferences are, I mean, for a king, definitely Charles II. He was, um, I mean, just the fact that he was such a likable guy, that he brought back the ability to actually drink and party, because there was also prohibition in the country at the time. But not only that, he also, people liked him so much they went, yeah, we're going to instate this guy as king, and they made him king, so he became King Charles II. Was, I mean, a guy's got to be really bloody likable to do that. But for queens, we have there are three sort of top contenders: Queen Elizabeth I, and Queen Victoria, both amazing women, ridiculously strong, ruled a country in a time where women were thought not to be able to do shit. Um, so obviously they are damn, damn influential. Um, but then obviously we'll have our, you know, poor Queen Elizabeth II, who, as far as I'm concerned, she was just badass. I mean, attempted made on her life twice, and first time she just carried on like normal. Second time she smokes a cigarette with the guy. I mean, I don't think there's many people in the world that can say that they would sit there and smoke a cigarette with their would-be assassin. So, I mean, she was pretty badass. So not just as a woman, but as a British subject, I hope to have just at least a tiny little drizzle of the gallstone she had, to be honest with you. Um, yeah. So, I mean,
Um,
yet to see what Charles, her son's going to be like, which, oh God, he's a blithering idiot. But but no, I mean, both Elizabeths, Elizabeth the First and Elizabeth the Second, Queen Victoria and King Charles the Second, definitely. I mean, if you're talking about people that got shit done, yeah.
and then do you know difference about parliament and monarchy?
Oh, the difference between the patriarchy and monarchy.
Yeah.
With people not knowing about the difference is, well, you've got the patriarchy and monarchy and matriarchy. Patriarchy is a social system of power that is governed by men. So you can either have one man or lots of men. A matriarchy is social power by a group of women or one woman, and a monarchy is just one head of state that can be man or a woman. But it can only be one man or one woman. But not a lot of people know the differences between that. So
And then, what do you know about Magna Carta?
the
Okay.
Magna Carta,
Yeah, Magna Carta.
the Magna Carta was a Bill of Rights that was actually made, and then they basically ignored it for many hundreds of years, actually. And then it was found by the Romans when they invaded us. No, the Normans, actually. Was it the Normans or the Oh, now I'm confusing myself. But either the Normans or the Romans, actually. But they found it again, and they were like, "You guys have rules? You guys have laws?" And we were like, "Oh, yeah, apparently so." And they were like, "Okay," so they reinstated them. But they were basically to ensure that the king or queen of the time or the ruling power of government at the time could not rule in tyranny. They had to rule by their people. So they could not, so legally they could not file a false crime and just have a person not stand trial and then just imprison them. It was the right to a fair trial, the right to justice, the right to free commerce, the right to liberty. Um, so yeah, it for some reason they wrote the Magna Carta, and then it just the king that made the Magna Carta, just King John, his name was, he was considered a blithering idiot. He just never paid attention to it, and it just got largely forgotten. So we actually had a Bill of Rights for about 500 years before we had a Bill of Rights. But it was, yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
imagine that. Imagine a country getting rid of their entire rule book and forgetting about it because they just can't be bothered to stick to it.
Okay. The next question
Ah.
is, what do you know about education in Britain?
um, Nowadays, just a sorry state, to be honest with you. Like the kids in the classroom, they've got no discipline. They're just constantly messing with each other, chatting back to the teachers, just not paying attention. They won't work hard at anything. They got no respect. They yell at the teachers. I recently saw a video of one who teacher confiscated a girl's phone and she maced him in the face. Like, what is that? Like, when I was at school, you'd have gotten smacked back by a teacher for that. Um, but they also don't really seem to want to look past anything at face value. Like, you tell them wrong and they've got no interest in going, oh, okay, well, what's the correct answer? They just, oh, I'm wrong. Okay, well, I don't care. Um, but I think that this is the so-called individuality that I was going on about with the culture. The teachers are also giving into it. So when a kid is wrong and they just don't care, they can't really force the kid to care because, oh, well, that kid can just do what they like because that's, they can do what they want. It's individuality, and all this. But actually, it's in a sorry state, to be fair. Things that I knew that were common sense to
Yeah.
me when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14. Like, you look, 17-year-olds don't know it and you're like, what is life? um but yeah, no, it's just a sorry state right now, the education system, I believe, really.
Okay. Next, are the people of British using newspaper or switch in the article or online?
Digital media will never take over. Digital media will never take over. We'll use it. It's good. It's a good idea. It's fun to use it, but nothing will ever beat the feel of paper and ink. As I said to uni, nothing will ever beat the feel of paper and ink, and that smell and the oh, I walk into a library and I fall in love with books all over again. You know, you don't get that from a Kindle. It just smells like Kindle. It doesn't smell like book.
Okay, okay. Next is how do the British enjoy the leisure?
Lots of ways. Um, if you're young, old, whether you have kids or not, whether the weather's great or not, it changes. I mean, if you want a barbecue, you can't do that if it's pissing down rain outside. But you could go to a swimming pool and go and swim. If you could go and to the cinema, you can go bowling, you could go to a Bristol Observatory where I live and watch the stars. You could go out for friends to a coffee, to a cafe, or you can go out to a club, or you can go to a pub, or you can go to a live showing of your favorite, you know, theater play. There's just so
Yeah.
much to do in England. It really just depends.
Okay. And then the last question is, do you have a recommendation of places to visit when in the UK or England?
Um, I've lots, but it just depends how cold and wet you're willing to get. If you want to see the countryside, and you want to see like historical buildings and stuff, then you know, I recommend going to the countryside. I recommend going to the smaller towns, the smaller villages everywhere on the outside. But I just don't ever go to London. It's just not London is not the UK in its
Oh,
culture. It's a whole a packet of biscuits that costs me £1 at the shop down here will cost me like 4 or 5 quid in a shop in London. It's an entire they have their own economic system. It has its own fare. It has its own be it yeah, not London. Anywhere but London. But Bath is brilliant. They have a lot of historical buildings there, a lot of beautiful parks. Um, Other places, are you can go to the beach, you can go to Weston-super-Mare, you can go to Cornwall, you can go to Devon, Portsmouth, Blackpool. There are so many areas to go. It really depends what you want to see in the UK. If you want to see people, if you want to see buildings, if you want to see culture, if you want to see the countryside, it really is. There's just so much to see and do in England.
mm.
And I think we're about to run out of time. It says less than a minute. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, there's so many things. But honestly, if you're a foodie, go and find as many Chinese places or as many um Japanese sushi bars as you can, because trust me, they're popping up everywhere. Hell, there's 2 Korean restaurants that just popped up like in town by me recently. So go
Okay.
nuts. I mean, chaos. Just choose, put suggestions in a hat and pick them out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steph. Thank you so much.
You're fine.
You helping me make this interview. Thank you so much.
It's fine. I really hope I've helped you too.